The night had fallen thick around Liang Zhen, draping the world in an inky blackness that seemed to swallow the very stars. The forest had grown quieter still, the weight of silence settling heavily on his shoulders. His power had been awakened, but it felt strange, like a blade that had been sheathed for too long, its edge dulled by time. The taste of his own strength was not satisfying. No, it was unsettling. He had been the ruler of the celestial realm, a god in his own right. And yet here he was, standing in a forsaken forest, broken and weak. His mind churned, cycling through the fragments of memories, snippets of his former life, fragments of faces long gone, and the cold emptiness that had consumed him during his imprisonment in the void. He remembered the crown, the symbol of ultimate power. He remembered the betrayal, the shock of falling from the heights of the celestial court to the depths of nothingness. And now, in this new life, he was again faced with a similar dilemma. How much would he sacrifice for power? What lengths would he go to reclaim what was taken from him? The rustling of leaves broke through his thoughts. Liang Zhen's gaze flickered toward the noise, his hand instinctively moving toward the hilt of a dagger he had taken from one of the fallen cultivators. His senses sharpened, but the figure stepping into the clearing was not an enemy. It was Xiao Mei. She stepped from the shadows, her presence as silent as the night itself, but the light from the moon caught the sorrow in her eyes. "I thought you'd left," Liang Zhen said, his voice colder than he intended. Xiao Mei didn't flinch. She never did. "I couldn't. Not after what you did back there." Ling Zhen narrowed his eyes. "I did what was necessary. I don't need anyone's approval for my actions." "Perhaps not," she replied softly, her voice carrying a note of something unreadable. "But you will need more than just power if you were to survive what is coming." He straightened, his expression hardening. "I've survived far worse than this." "You've lived with the consequences of your power before, haven't you?" she asked, her tone not accusatory, but gentle in a way that grated against his soul. "The cost of a crown is always heavy, Liang Zhen. What are you willing to pay this time?" Her words hit him harder than he cared to admit. His eyes darkened. He did not want to remember the cost of his past decisions, the endless years of isolation, the betrayal of those he had loved and trusted, and the destruction of a realm that had once been his. The crown had promised everything and given nothing but emptiness. But now, for the first time since his rebirth, he understood that the path he walked was not his alone. Others would come for him. Others would stand in his way. He regarded Xiao Mei coolly. "What do you want then? If you're not here to leave, then what?" She hesitated, her gaze flickering to the fallen cultivators, then back to him. "I'm here because we can help each other, whether you want to admit it or not." The words stung. Help each other. Liang Zhen had spent countless years alone, and trust was a luxury he could not afford. But Xiao Mei was right. The celestial court had no intention of leaving him in peace. The world around them had grown darker, and the tides of fate had already begun to shift in ways he could no longer control. Xiao Mei stepped closer, her voice low. "Luo Xian is right, you know. You cannot win this war alone. You've seen what happens to those who defy the celestial court. You've felt their wrath before. But what if you could fight with more than just your own strength? What if you could gather an army, one strong enough to challenge them?" Liang Zhen felt a cold weight settle in his chest. "I will not lead another army. I've seen where that path leads." Xiao Mei's eyes softened, though her gaze remained firm. "You're not leading an army, Liang Zhen. You're gathering allies. It's different." The word lingered in the air, hanging between them. Allies. He had never truly had allies. In the past, those around him were either tools or obstacles to be eliminated. But here, in this new world, in this strange rebirth, things were different. Perhaps he could use them. Perhaps they could be the tools he needed to bring down the very system that had destroyed him. The tension between them thickened, but the silence was broken by the sudden sound of approaching footsteps. Soft, deliberate, unmistakable. Liang Zhen's hand tightened around the dagger, but he didn't draw it. He knew this presence. Luo Xian. The assassin emerged from the shadows, his face barely visible beneath the hood of his cloak. He took one long look at the two of them before speaking in his usual low, measured tone. "Interesting," Luo Xian remarked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "I see the two of you have decided that playing separate games is not in your best interest." Liang Zhen's eyes flicked to Xiao Mei, who gave no indication that she was bothered by Luo Xian's presence. In fact, she almost seemed to welcome it. Liang Zhen could feel the delicate balance of this new alliance shifting in real time. "You're here now," Liang Zhen said flatly, his eyes narrowing. "Does that mean you've made your decision?" Luo Xian's lips curled into the faintest of smiles. "I've made my decision. I'll help you, silent immortal, but let's be clear on something. I don't do this for you. I do it because the Celestial Court is a far greater threat than any of us can face alone." Liang Zhen said nothing at first. Instead, he took in the figure before him, his mind racing. Luo Xian, the assassin, the man who had once been a tool of the very force Liang Zhen sought to destroy. But what did Luo Xian want? What was his true aim? Was this really an offer of help, or was it a power play? "You're sure about this?" Liang Zhen asked, his voice low and calculating. "The Celestial Court is not a foe to be taken lightly. They'll come for you too if you make this move." Luo Xian nodded. "And I'm prepared for that. I've lived my life in the shadows of the Celestial Court. I've been their tool, their weapon, but no longer." There was something in his voice, a determination that Liang Zhen had not expected. The assassin was not simply offering to help, he was offering something far more valuable. He was offering freedom. Xiao Mei stepped forward, her voice calm but resolute. "We need to act, Liang Zhen. The Celestial Court's reach extends far, but with you, with all of us, we stand a chance." Liang Zhen felt the weight of her words. A chance. A single chance to destroy the decree that had bound him, to bring down the very foundation of the immortal world. He took a slow breath, considering the offer. Trust. He did not know if he could trust them, but he knew that they had something he needed: skills, knowledge, and strength. Together, they could topple the walls of the Celestial Court, or they would die trying. The thought didn't scare him. Finally, he spoke, his voice firm, cold, and filled with the promise of things yet to come. "Very well. Let's make our first move."